You know, in football, we all love a great underdog story. But what we're talking about today, it's more than just an underdog story. This is about a team from the absolute fringes of the Arctic Circle that didn't just stand up to the establishment. They tore it down to become one of the most unlikely powerhouses in all of Europe.
4. Just look at that number. That's how many National League titles this tiny club has won in the last 5 seasons alone. I mean, to put that in perspective, they've built a full-blown dynasty in a place nobody, and I mean nobody, thought was possible.
And you know, a huge part of what makes this so wild, it's literally where they are on the map. This club is way up there, above the Arctic Circle, making them the northernmost team to ever win a National League title in the history of European football. Okay, so let's get into it. The club we're talking about is Fotballklubben Bodø/Glimt, from the city of Bodø in Norway. Their nickname is Superlaget, the super team. And honestly, their whole journey just leaves you with one massive question. How on earth did a team from a remote town, with a stadium that barely holds over 8,000 people, turn into this absolute giant killer? Well, to answer that, we've got to rewind the clock. Because to really understand their incredible success now, you have to understand their long history of just fighting against the odds. So before we dig into all the past struggles, let's just take a moment to appreciate the scale of what they've pulled off recently. This isn't just a big deal in Norway. They've been making serious waves across the entire continent, which makes their backstory even more mind-blowing. I mean, just look at this run. In just the last few years, they've made it to the quarterfinals of the Conference League, the semis of the Europa League, and even the round of 16 in the Champions League. They became the northernmost club to ever get to that stage. They're not just winning, they're going toe-to-toe with Europe's absolute elite.
So how did this happen? Well, their story really starts with this fundamental conflict in Norwegian football. A really deep-seated, almost institutional bias against any team from the north.
And this wasn't just some friendly rivalry, you know? For decades, there was this official, widely held belief that clubs from the huge, sparsely populated northern regions, clubs exactly like Bodø Glimt, were simply not good enough to play in the top league. And the actual rules of the game, they were written to reflect that prejudice.
And I mean, just look at how stacked the deck was against them. For decades, they weren't even allowed to enter the main national cup. They were literally barred by rule from getting promoted to the top division until 1972. And even after that, the system was totally rigged. The northern champions had to win an extra, unfair playoff against southern teams just to get a shot at promotion.
But here's the thing about this club. They were never going to just lie down and take it. Instead, they started to fight back, and they began racking up a series of historic firsts that slowly started to chip away at those barriers.
They'd been around forever, founded way back in 1916, and while the rest of the country shut them out, they completely dominated their own region, winning the Northern Norwegian Cup a record 9 times. The point is, they were always a powerhouse. They just weren't allowed on the main stage to prove it.
And this all leads to a situation that is just, well, it's completely absurd. It perfectly captures the kind of injustice they were up against. I mean, just try to imagine this.
So, get this. In 1975, they do the impossible. They win the Norwegian Cup, becoming the very first team from the north to win a national title. They were champions of the entire country. But because of those ridiculous playoff rules, they were still denied promotion to the top division in the exact same season. It was this moment of incredible triumph mixed with just bitter frustration.
But they didn't let it break them. The very next year, 1976, they came back and finally smashed through the system. They won their playoff matches and earned their spot in the top flight. They had finally proven without a shadow of a doubt that the North belonged.
But, you know, just getting to the top flight, that wasn't the end of the drama. Not by a long shot. What came next were decades of the most extreme highs and the most crushing lows, earning them a reputation as Norway's ultimate roller coaster club. And this right here, this is the perfect example. In 1993, they have this phenomenal season. They finish second in the league and win the National Cup. Amazing, right? Well, the very next year, they avoid getting relegated back down by the skin of their teeth on nothing more than goal difference. From the highest of highs to the absolute brink of disaster in 1 year.
And this pattern just kept repeating. It was relentless. They have this fantastic debut in '77, finishing second. Then they're relegated by 1980. The 80s were what the club itself calls its darkest hours, stuck in the lower divisions. They fight all the way back to finish second again in 2003, only to be relegated 2 years later. A great fourth-place finish in 2008 was followed by, yep, you guessed it, relegation again in 2009.
So the big question is, how do you finally break a cycle like that? How do you go from being this constant roller coaster to an unstoppable dynasty? Well, this is where the story pivots. This is where everything changes as we enter the golden age.
The real turnaround started, funny enough, with another disaster, getting relegated again in 2016. But this time was different. The club brought in a pretty unknown assistant coach named Kjetil Knutsen. They got promoted right away. But when they made him head coach the next year, everything changed. It wasn't just a new hire, it was a total philosophical reset. He brought in a new culture, a new tactical identity built on this relentless attacking football that the rest of the league just had no answer for.
And what's the result of all that? Well, you can see it right here. Under Knutsen, the club has just transformed. Those 9 Northern Norwegian Cups on the chart, that's their proud history, their long fight. But the 4 league titles and 2 national cups, all won recently, that's their modern, undeniable reign. They didn't just get good, they built a machine.
So in the end, what he built there, it wasn't just a winning team, it was a history-making one. They finally broke that ultimate barrier, becoming the first team from Northern Norway to win the top league. And when they did that, they didn't just write their name in Norwegian history, they put it in the European record books forever.
From being literally barred from competing to completely dominating the competition. From a team that was told they didn't belong to a team that now sets the standard. Bodø Glimt's story is just a masterclass in resilience. And it leaves you wondering, right? They've conquered their nation. So what in the world is next for the super team from the top of the world?